What I do is after the lift or run, I run first then lift.
See, I came a long way from the bottom.
Everybody wants to talk about Shedeur Sanders' arm. Everybody wants to talk about his confidence, his swag, his brand deals. Nobody wants to talk about the part that actually built all of that. His insider just pulled back the curtain on the man's actual daily schedule, and honestly, it explains everything. Not the highlight reel version, the real one. Run, lift, ice bath, playbook, repeat, before the sun's even fully up. So stick around, because by the end of this, you're going to understand why some guys are good, some guys are stars, and why Shedeur Sanders is built to be something else entirely. Let's set the scene. Shedeur Sanders is back in Cleveland grinding before training camp even opens, and it's his own guy on the inside who's putting the receipts out there, not a reporter fishing for a story, somebody who's actually in the building with him. And what he laid out is not glamorous. It's not the version of an NFL quarterback's life that gets sold to you in commercials. It's run first, then lift, then straight into an ice bath, then from the ice bath into a playbook meeting, where he's going over assignments, going over reads, going over every little detail that decides whether a play works or blows up in his face on Sunday. Think about that order for a second. Most guys are trying to survive the lift. Shedeur's already run before he even touches a weight. That's a guy who is choosing to make his body work harder before the hard part even starts. And it's not a one-time thing. It's the loop. Lift, run, recover, study, and then he said something that tells you everything. Midnight rolls around and he does it again in the morning. That's the part people skip over when they talk about him. They want to argue about interceptions or completion percentage. Fine, have that conversation. But this is the stuff happening before any of that shows up on a stat sheet. This is the stuff nobody's filming for a highlight package. And his own insider is the one who decided the world needed to see it, because in his words, being the league's top earner doesn't happen by accident. You don't back into that. You work for it when nobody's watching.
What I do is after the lift or run, I run first then lift. After the lift done, after I'm in the ice bath, then from there I'll transition to like a playbook meeting.
Okay.
So that's when I'll have going over the playbook, going over X, Y, and Z, going over.
Y'all hear him? Shedeur's laying out his daily schedule.
Stop and actually sit with that schedule for a second. That's not a highlight. That's a grind nobody claps for. Now, here's where it gets real. His insider didn't just describe the schedule. He explained why it matters. He said the best brands aren't built overnight and they're not built by accident, that this is intentional, that you get out what you put in. And he tied it straight back to Shedeur, saying this is exactly what he's doing, hands down. That word intentional is doing a lot of work there, because plenty of guys in this league work hard. That's not the separator anymore, not at this level. The separator is what you're doing with the hours nobody's tracking, the extra reps, the extra tape, the extra meeting you didn't have to take. His guy called it working the extra on top of actually being good at the sport, which by itself should tell you why this isn't normal. And then he brought up something that a lot of guys in Shedeur's position never think about, which is who else is doing this same thing right next to him, Travis Hunter. Two rookies who are already being pointed to as the standard, and the reasoning given wasn't talent, it was that they understand the work outside of the work and the work in between the work. That's 3 different layers of work in one sentence, and that's exactly the point. It's not just showing up to practice, it's not just the meetings, it's everything in the cracks in between that most people never account for. That's the difference, according to somebody who's actually watching it up close, between being good, being a star, and being what he called a superstar. 3 different tiers, and the tier you land in gets decided by the stuff you do when there's no camera on you.
Caption this by being the league's top earner doesn't happen by accident. You have to play pretty damn good, but you also have to work the extra. You also have to do the extra work around the clock when no one is looking. The best brands aren't built overnight and not by accident.
Good players show up for practice. Superstars show up for the hours nobody's watching. That's the whole gap right there. Here's the part that really separates the noise from the truth. His guy went even further and said Shedeur isn't running home worried about who he's with tonight or what he's drinking or any of the distractions that derail guys with just as much talent. Instead, it's just work, over and over, stacked on top of itself. And he made a point of saying that's rare, that people want to be in that position, they want the brand, the attention, the paycheck, but a lot of them have too many distractions pulling at their time to actually get there. And this is the part that hit different. He said he posts this stuff on purpose, not for clout, for the guys coming up behind Shedeur with the same dream, so they can see what it actually costs, and for the guys already in the league trying to figure out how to take that next step, how to become a household name instead of just a name on a roster. He's showing his work so other people understand there's actual work to be shown. Then he circled back to the day itself. After the lift is done, after the ice bath, into the playbook, whether that's by himself or on a Zoom call going over the game plan. And then it's midnight. And the schedule doesn't end there either, because he does it again the next morning, before they even hit the road for the day. All work, no play, as his insider put it. That phrase alone tells you the whole story of what this offseason actually looked like behind closed doors, compared to what people assume an NFL quarterback's summer looks like from the outside.
Now, listen.
Man, I just wanted to give y'all a little insight on like how hard Shedeur really worked beyond the physical part of the field and the 4 workouts, the meetings in between workouts, the interviews in between workouts, the recovery, all the stuff, you know, putting the right stuff in his body, the film and all the stuff it takes to be a pro. Like, bro, people don't go through half of that he go through. But it's a reason why, again, that he's, you know what I'm saying, the number 1 licensing seller in the NFL. And there's a reason why Travis Hunter is right there, because them boys work and they understand the work outside of the work and the work in between the work. That's what it takes to be a superstar. You know what I'm saying? It's different between being good or being a star and being a superstar. And the level of work that they put in, brother, unmatched. He ain't running home trying to worry about what girl he gonna be with tonight or or what drug I'm gonna take, what drink I'm gonna drink, what I'm no work.
Ask yourself honestly, how many people do you know who could run that same schedule for even 1 week straight? So what do you actually do with all of this? You put it next to the noise. Because while this is happening, on the same day this insider is putting the schedule out there, Cleveland media is over on a completely different show having a whole separate argument, this time about Deshaun Watson and whether his shoulder is fully right heading into camp. Different conversation entirely, different tone entirely. One side of the room is talking about discipline and intentional work. The other side of the room is debating fatigue and health question marks. You don't need to pick a side in that shoulder conversation to notice the contrast. One quarterback's story right now is about a schedule that never stops. Run, lift, recover, study, repeat at midnight, then again the next morning. The other storyline circulating in the same city on the same week is a health conversation that keeps resurfacing before camp has even opened. 2 very different headlines coming out of the same building in the same summer. And that's really the whole point his insider was trying to make. It's not about talking down anybody else in that quarterback room. It's about showing in real time what it actually looks like to be intentional about your own career when so much of the outside conversation is out of your control. You can't control a health headline. You can control whether you ran before you lifted today. Shedeur's guys is telling you, on the record, that he's choosing the second one every single day.
While you got other obligations, other things that you're trying to, fill your time with, it's people out here who are committed to real life, getting it in, and yeah, man, and he doing all this just on to wake up tomorrow and do it all over again before we hit the road.
Y'all hear him? Before they hit the road. Work. All work, no play, bro.
That's not a slogan for the highlight reel. That's just Tuesday for this guy. Let's bring it back together. This wasn't a reporter's take. It wasn't a hot take show trying to generate a headline. This was somebody actually inside the building, walking through Shedeur Sanders' literal schedule, hour by hour, and explaining exactly why it matters. Run, lift, ice bath, playbook, midnight, repeat. Being intentional every single day, according to the guy who's watching it happen up close. And he made the comparison himself, that this is the gap between being good, being a star, and being a superstar. And that gap gets built in exactly the hours we just walked through. So here's the real question. Is it the talent that gets you to the top of this league, or is it the schedule nobody's clapping for, the one that starts before the sun's up and doesn't stop at midnight? Drop your answer in the comments. Talent or work ethic, which one actually separates the stars from the superstars? Smash like and subscribe.